everybody, welcome to episode 5 of Voom on Sex. Episode 5 is revisiting a small portion of episode 4 that was on defining polyamory. I'm really excited to have my very first guest, my very first interview for Voom on Sex with one of my oldest and dearest friends, Coco Jewelle.
Hi.
Coco is also going to share one of her family's secret recipes with us, cheese pie.
Look at this beauty.
Oh my God, we cannot wait to explore her pie and also learn a little bit more about solo polyamory. So now we're ready to make the infamous Jewelle family recipe, cheese pie. Coco has been kind enough to share this recipe with us, and I am so excited to dive in, whip it up, get it creamy, get it good with one of my besties. So tell me a little bit about this cheese pie recipe, the Jewelle family favorite.
I have a little brother, and neither of us like cake very much. So
What?
every birthday, seriously, we like cake, but frosting not so much. My brother doesn't even like sweets, if you can believe that. But this has become our birthday pie. We have cheese pie. And so it's creamy and delicious, and it's served cold. And it's cheesy and delicious.
Well, I mean, what are the? I see the ingredients here, and it looks really difficult.
So
I don't know
hard.
if I have time for the interview today later, because seriously, we have
3 ingredients.
3.
Well, 4 if you count the vanilla.
Well, 5 if you count the topping.
I don't count the topping.
So Coco's gonna walk me through this recipe. I also hear that it's really good for you sluts out there that need to make something really sweet and delicious for your lover coming over and you're in a pinch for time.
And it's silky and smooth and can be eaten off each other quite nicely.
Oh my gosh, she takes it to the next level. I'm gonna tell your brother.
Don't you dare.
But I see what we have here is we have a package of cream cheese, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, correct.
1 can of sweetened condensed milk without a label on it. Look, it has no label. 1/3 cup of lemon juice. So we got some freshly squeezed lemons here. And Coco squirted all over my counter. Just, you know, seriously,
The
you should have gotten
seeds.
that shot.
Everywhere.
So much squirting.
Seeds.
In the pie, so difficult. We have a pre-made graham cracker crust. So what am I gonna start with first?
First, you got to whip up that cream cheese. It needs to be light and fluffy. So.
You're gonna get it nice and.
Oh yeah.
Coco, is it creamy enough?
Oh, that's so light and fluffy. It's been whipped well.
Oh.
Oh yes. Oh, get it off the sides.
Nothing like sharing a delicious pot of cream with your bestie, right?
Yes.
Nice and creamy.
Oh, that's such a lovely spatula.
Look at this. My friend Boysenberry gave this to the show.
To the show, that's so sweet. Ba-dum-bum.
So, as I understand, now we're going to add the condensed milk.
Exactly, and whip that in there really well. And this is where it gets its sweetness, 'cause that's why it's sweetened condensed milk, not like evaporated.
Ah, very important distinction.
See, it's like you're doing 2 ingredients at once.
2 months.
Oh.
Ooh, look at that texture. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that creamy goodness.
Let it pour on in.
Gosh, it reminds me of so many things right now. I am like, right? Look it up, Coco.
And no talking while it is. Oh yeah. It's really looks like. And then it pours into the thing, all just like, yeah, it's great. Oh, and now it starts to sound.
Wow, that sounds so arousing. So I bet we have good.
Yeah, get it all off the sides.
Okay. Am I doing okay here?
It's nice and moist, yes.
Okay.
Oh, it needs some more beating though, look at that.
Oh, it always needs a little more. And, you know,
Whip it good.
You can't beat it too much, can you?
Not really.
Overbeat this?
You could, but it would take longer than most people are willing to give it.
That really does sound like sex.
It really rather does. At the smack and
Oh,
Yeah, that sounds so good.
Good for
Oh,
me.
yeah. And I, with you, don't measure
You don't measure
vanilla.
on
I,
the show.
yeah.
Like, let's just be clear.
Yeah,
That's
and
not happening ever.
it's hard to add too much
like how
vanilla.
much? Ooh,
Oh, a little, yeah.
Is that good? Is that good?
Depends on how, because the flavor actually does come out in this recipe.
Oh.
And then it's a third a cup per the recipe. My father doesn't like the taste of lemon. So we have reduced it down to a quarter cup. It keeps it firm, but you have to be careful because if you go too little lemon juice, it doesn't actually firm up and you end up with cheese soup.
Okay. Gosh, this is such a tough recipe.
Thankfully, we're almost done.
Okay.
Nice.
This is tough, Coco. How does your family do it every birthday?
Love. It's all about the love.
A lot of love.
Is that a beater that needs licking?
Wait, I get to share. I got a little right here.
Oh, did it jizz on you?
Oh, I did.
Oh, there's gonna be a little.
Lick it clean.
Uh-oh, on my nose. Oh, thank you for doing all the hard work.
Hold the crust
here.
for me. I'm gonna need some help here.
Oh, look at that. Oh, yes. Oh, fill her up, baby.
That's good.
Oh, yeah. Don't waste a morsel.
Oh my God.
Oh, yes. Oh, come on. Oh, there's more. Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's always more.
Oh,
for you.
yeah. Oh,
There's
baby.
so
Oh, yeah.
much
Bring
more
it on.
in here.
Bring
There's
it
so
on.
much filling.
Oh.
Oh my.
Oh, here. Oh, yeah. It's on it.
Now this goes in the fridge.
Oh, it does indeed.
Fridge for 3 hours to set and get nice and firm. And then we're gonna coat it with cherries or whatever topping
Lots of choices.
that we, Coco's gonna guide us through that. Time to slide this delicious creamy cheese pie into the fridge for 3 hours or until what? It's firm. We want it nice and firm before we eat it. If we can wait. It's so hard to wait. Wait. Hey! Makes the pie better. It's the love. Now time for the interview. So Coco, we're here today to talk about a topic that extends off of episode 4, which is on polyamory. Episode 4 barely touches like the tip, of the poly spectrum, what I consider kind of the poly spectrum, because I'm sure as you agree, polyamory is a huge, there's like such a huge definition of it. And we could spend hours talking about the definition of polyamory. I have you here today specifically to talk about one term from polyamory called solo polyamory, or a type of polyamory that that you consider yourself if you had to put yourself in a box and give yourself a title.
Actually have a label, yeah.
Right.
And yeah, you're right. Like everybody has their own definition of what they're doing in terms of what makes them poly. So that's so valid that it's almost the first question is, okay, how are you polyamorous? And so for me, solo polyamory allows me to live alone, have my own life, and yet have, well, in my case, 2 very nourishing and family. I've got family, 2 partners that I consider family. And that takes a lot of work, but it's worth it.
So you mentioned that you have 2 partners, and I'm wondering how long have you been with those partners, and how long have you considered yourself polyamorous?
I've actively considered myself polyamorous for 5 years now, shortly after my divorce. However, in high school, I had this fantasy about my husband would live across the hall and we'd have our own apartments. And I would joke about having a harem, because of course that should be possible for women too, right?
Yeah.
See? But cheers to that. Kind of let that go after high school, because that's just not a reality that I even thought could ever be, a thing. So got divorced, had eventually my very first date out of my divorce, and the guy considered himself polyamorous, introduced me to the term and the whole idea and concept, and I realized that, oh my God, it is a thing. My high school fantasy can be a real thing, and I started dating a lot.
A lot.
Well, I needed to release some tension, shall we say. And so I think I had a spreadsheet to keep track of them all. That first date guy stayed with me for quite a long time. For a while I narrowed it down to about 5 partners, and slowly they fell out of my life. But one of those partners from that very first round of dating right out of my divorce is still with me. And then a year later I kind of did the same thing on a smaller scale, and kept my second partner from that. And I had actually 3 partners for a while, largely because the third one was a once a month adventure. I hardly ever talked to him outside of that, so it just fit into my lifestyle. And I didn't seek to replace him once that ended. But now I'm in a really great place because those 2 people have become family. They're literally part of my security blanket, who are my people for emergency contacts. We take care of each other.
And as people say, and I always think this, the more love, the better.
Absolutely. Well, that's polyamorous, more than one love.
Oh, hey.
Yeah.
So Coco, you mentioned lots of lovely things about being polyamorous, solo polyamorous, such as the relationships that you've built and the love involved there, and the friendship and the family. What would you say is the most rewarding top things of being solo polyamorous for yourself? Because it would be, kind of how things work for you.
Exactly. I am solo poly. And for me, primarily that means that I have the benefit of living alone and having me time, which I need desperately in order to really enjoy and fully take part in a relationship and in that interaction and give my whole energy there. I need time to recuperate and be completely alone with nothing on.
Nothing on.
Seriously, no TV, no music, just quiet.
Oh.
And so no vibrator, no. But then the benefit of that is that when I do have time with one of my partners, I am completely committed and focused on them, and they get my full attention, and there's no taking advantage or taking it for granted that time. You don't just sort of call it in because you don't get a lot of time. I see one partner every 10 days is pretty much our max, and another partner, sometimes I don't see him once a month. And there's pros and cons. One's local, so I see him a little more regularly, but oftentimes not as an overnight, so it's less time. Whereas the partner I see less frequently, it's almost always an overnight. So there's, we give and take based on what's available in our calendars. What
would you say is the most difficult part of being polyamorous?
And for me, time is definitely on that list, is fitting everybody in and making sure that I don't overbook myself so much that I don't get a chance to process the time that I spend with my partners or with my friends or alone. The other tricky thing is communication. I had to work on that one. I tend to keep a lot of things inside and hold on to it and deal with it myself and not want to burden other people, and I had to learn to stop that and really share how I was feeling, even if it was the less than pretty emotions that I'm upset or angry or jealous or whatever, and express that, figure out what somebody can do to help me with that. And articulate that. And for me, one of the hardest things was also expressing what I want, what would make me happy. Accepting that was an issue for me. So yeah, some tricky things.
Wow, so what you just described really sounded a lot like relationships.
Well, yeah, they are. They take as much work, actually more so, because now you're working exponentially. It's not just with that partner, but both partners and their partners, and there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of communication involved, making sure everybody's on the same wavelength. It's not really poly if you're lying to each other.
But I know you've said so much that you feel that it's very much worth it.
Oh, absolutely. The relationships are so much stronger than any I've ever had, and they've made my friendship stronger because I've learned to better communicate. There's things I'm still working on improving within myself that'll make me happier with who I am.
Good point.
And honestly, that really is a lot of it for me, is that not just am I working on myself and improving what I see to be things I'd like to make better, but I get to see the things that other people appreciate about me and then appreciate that about myself too. So it's helped with my self-confidence as well.
What advice would you give to someone who's considering becoming polyamorous or maybe exploring solo polyamory?
First, if you're thinking about going poly because something's wrong in your primary relationship and you think that, ooh, we can fix it by opening the relationship or finding the unicorn, don't do that. Hello, unicorn. I've just seen far too many people go through serious hardships that are based on the fact that they've done that without having fixed the relationship first. It's more work, it's not less work. So remember that you're going to be doing a lot more work in every relationship you're in, including the one with yourself.
Yeah, especially the one with yourself.
Especially
right?
the one with yourself.
I would say.
And
definitely.
honestly, and that's what makes it rewarding is, again, I've learned so much about who I am and what's important to me and how to share that with people in a really meaningful way.
Before I pull our pie out of the fridge, I think the pie
time.
might be ready for creamy goodness. And
yes.
yeah, you just need brush stroking for that.
Okay.
I think it also calls for a special unicorn gift.
Magic! Look what I have.
This is what Sundays are for.
Light her up, baby. Oh yeah. I'll drink to that.
Time for pie.
Double fisting. You scrape. Well, okay. Granted, I'm a purist. In my family, we make the pie and we have like, if you want toppings, they're on the side and you can add them after you have your slice.
Oh.
But granted, I'm a purist, so I try to not be, well, at all complaining when somebody makes me a cheese pie. I'll scrape it off, it'll be fine.
Well, I see we dig it.
Okay. Can I have first bite? Okay, I'm just gonna have some like the middle, yeah.
Oh, she ate sprinkles, I saw her. I'm gonna try the cherry.
It's a winner.
Definitely a winner. Have a good
Excuse me, I'm gonna bite.
week, month, year.
You're still thinking about tick size.
What?
No!